right, it's Tap In with TT, and my special guest today is Lecrae. How you doing?
I'm wonderful.
This is the first time you and I met.
That's crazy.
And I've been a big fan of yours for quite some time.
Oh, man.
Fan
that's
of
love.
your music, just a fan of what you do for the community.
Thank you.
And I was saying to myself, I'm like, dang, I always wanted to interview him. And I finally now get a chance to sit down with him. And I have all these questions of what I want to ask you. But I'm just reading over all of the stuff your publicist gave me, too. And I'm like, wow, like, he's really doing a lot of great things.
Hey, man, go where you feel like you want to go. I'm with it all. I'm just glad to be here. You know
So
what I mean?
you have a new single out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that first.
So the singles Lift Me Up. I mean, Still Here is out. It's been out for a while, but then Lift Me Up is with my guy Beam. And Lift Me Up came about because Beam was writing for Kanye, writing some songs and doing some production for Kanye, thinking that Kanye was still gonna be on his spiritual path.
Right.
And he kind of went a different way. So Beam had these records and these ideas, and he was like, "Yo, only person I can think of is you."
Yeah.
And so we got Lift Me Up, was just like a record about, hey, when you're going through dark times, you need hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're sort of like, well, you are like the mainstream face of like Christian rap. Like
That's a good way to put it.
There's a lot of Christian rappers though.
Yeah.
But you have always kind of been, since you came on the scene, like the face of Christian rap. And one of the questions I've always wanted to ask you, and I purposely didn't. Normally when I do an interview, I watch old interviews from the artists that I'm sitting with, and just to kind of see, what they talked about and just get to know them more. But I purposely didn't want to do that with you because I always wanted to know is how do you balance between this world of being a rapper and working with someone like a Ty Dolla $ign or a different Metro Boomin who work on music that is so different from yours in terms of content and what they put out there creativity. Creatively, I should say.
Yeah.
Is that a struggle for you to have to balance between two worlds?
And the funny thing for me is like, it was never weird to me because I just come from that space. So for me, it was just like in another time in my life, I would have been a Metro Boomin or so, you know what I mean? So it's like, for me now, it's like, well, I'm just the version of him that is a Christian.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how my brain processes it. So it's not like a weird thing. It's weirder for everybody else. A lot of other people are like, yo, what is good? How do you do this? And I'm like, I think for me, it's like, I just am being myself. And so when I walk into the room, I always tell people like this: if you're a vegan, you probably won't struggle with eating meat because that's what you do now.
But do you ever feel hypocritical?
I don't personally, but people will put that on me. You know what I'm saying?
How does that make you feel?
Just like punching people in the face sometimes. That's it. Nothing big. But I mean, it's made me. I've had some moments where it was like, yo, these folks are getting under my skin because they don't really know me, and so their brain just thinks, if you're on a song with Ty Dolla $ign, then you must be in a room full of prostitutes and cocaine. And I was just like, why does it go there?
Yeah, but I come from a very religious family. My mom is a minister, evangelist.
Yeah.
I grew up in a church, Pentecostal church, when I was younger. As I got older, I started to find my own way and my own journey. I do a lot of meditation, wellness.
Yeah.
I believe strongly in mental health. And I was always taught it is when you're in those rooms, how do you show up? How do you show up?
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I'm on the radio, around rap music. I engage in conversations that church folks will probably be like, why is she saying that?
Yeah.
But I look at you and I look at your life's work, and I look when you're working with these artists and you're doing different features and those things. I often say to myself, I wonder if people really see how he shows up when he's in that moment.
Yeah. Nah.
Because you could change someone's life that would have never thought about crossing over.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
And I mean, I get to have conversations with people about spirituality, about all kinds of things that sometimes they want to talk about, but they don't have anybody to talk about that with, because one, they'll be judged, or two, it's an argument, or, it's just like, hey, I mean, I already put my cards on the table, so it's already out there. You know where I stand, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And here's my other thing, man. People are gonna be bold about what they stand for and what they believe all the time, especially in hip hop. Like, hip hop is like, I mean, they'll tell you right off the cuff, like, you know what I'm saying, popping Molly, Perkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they bold about what they.
Yeah.
So why am I gonna be like, oh, I don't want to tell you that I love Jesus? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mean to sound like Donald Trump when I did that. That's kind of how it came out. But I just, I'm just gonna be myself and talk about what I believe.
It's interesting because I also feel, with that same note, that a lot of black men struggle with mental health is because they don't have a lot of safe places for them to be vulnerable in.
Yep.
And I think society as a whole, just thinking about my generation, I grew up a millennial.
Yeah.
So I think we are the generation that started to really kind of embrace this mental health thing.
Mm-hmm.
I will be the first to say how I was raised was completely wrong. You know what I mean? There was some great values, and I think my mom's saving grace is that she loved God so much, even though she made a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
One of the best things she could have done is at least kept us close to God. Through all the trauma and chaos and destruction, that's the one thing that I can say that she passed down to us that was fulfilling.
Yeah.
And God forbid she leaves today or tomorrow, she did a job well done. Because in my opinion, that was the best gift she could have given us. Right? So I say all that to say is, like, sometimes we're inherited this idea that we have to take on the world and be so strong. And for a black woman, I feel like, we carry a lot of that, but I also feel like black men carry that 10 times more because they always feel like they can't be vulnerable.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Like, you're not taught to be vulnerable or to cry. So I remember I was about 6 years old, and my pops had left the family. So my pops was out of our lives. My uncles are essentially the men in my life, and they're only like 10 years older than me. So my uncle's probably like, 16, I'm 6, or he's 17, and he's trying to teach me how to be a man. And the first thing he did was set up a little dog fight for me and another little kid. And it was like, y'all got to fight because you got to toughen up. So, this kid is pounding on me, beating me up. And my uncle is like, stop crying, fight back. And I'm like, oh, this is how I got to be. And that was, here you are 7 years old, and you're taught as a 7-year-old, you can't cry. You know what I mean? Just fight, don't cry. So that's the example that was put forth for me. And then you get older, and the idea is to be tough and to not show emotions. And I was talking,
because that's your most transformative years, right?
Right.
From that moment until about, I would say 20. I read 21, 23. For your young adult self, your most transformative years are between 6 and 21.
Wow.
That design.
Well, that makes sense.
I learned this through therapy.
So that's why I'm a disaster. Thank you.
No.
No. 6 to 21 is definitely my disastrous most years. No,
so I learned this in therapy that your most transformative years, they called it your adaptive child.
Yeah.
You learn to formulate how you show up as an adult during these most crucial moments of your life.
Wow.
And so sometimes when you're in the process of healing,
yeah,
you have to go back to those transformative years to heal whatever that trauma or that experience was for you, so that you don't continue to live in that, go back to that adaptive child whenever a trigger happens or a trauma happens in your life.
That's really good. My therapist has had me go back in time, but I never considered it from that perspective, because she always has me go back in time and like, hey, what would you tell that little boy dealing with X, Y, or Z? And I'm like, dang, I feel bad for him, because I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have to deal with that, you know. And then having my own kids now, like, I've been, you know, physically abused by my mom's boyfriends, beat up at like 10, and that having a 10-year-old, I'm like, golly, I can't imagine beating him up like as a grown man. That's crazy to me. So I gotta go back and like talk to little me and be like, hey man, I love you. You shouldn't have experienced this, on and on and on. And so yeah, that's good.
But it's also like a constant thing, right? It's
Yeah.
consistency, right? Because I think a lot of times, you know, we go through this journey of self-healing and we think, okay, because we went through it, we good. But it's a
Oh
constant
yeah,
battle every day to be the best version of yourself.
man. You talking that talk right now. You talking that talk right now.
But
Yes.
you have an app, you know, you talk a lot about this.
Yeah.
You know, and you have an app design that
Yep.
you invested in to connect Black people with mental health.
That's right.
And so I'm glad we're able to have this conversation because, you know, when I have conversations just with people in my own life, I'm like, it doesn't stop because you went to one therapist.
Right.
Or you think, okay, I'm good. No, it's a constant working on yourself because you never know when a triggering moment will happen for you.
That's right. It's nourishment.
Yeah.
And nourishment is not a one-time event. So you can't like eat a good meal and be like, well, that's it. I'm done for life. I had a good salad and some pear juice. Everything's great. It's like you got to continue to nourish yourself. It's like going to the gym. You got to continue to work out. You got to continue to take care of yourself. And the way I like to look at mental health is you got to continue to change your mental maps. So that's why, you know, the app you speaking of, the B-side, is created to help people continue to change their mental maps, because your mental maps are how you're processing the world around you. So you got to like, oh, wait, I got to process this differently. Somebody just really got me upset. I got to process that in a different way than I normally would have. And if you're not constantly exposing yourself to things that change the way you see the world, you're going to continue to go back to whatever it made sense to you when you were raised.
Yeah, that you go right back to that adaptive child who screams, who fights against whatever change that is because it's so comfortable.
That's right. That's right.
And that's why sometimes you see people in their 60s and 70s still doing the same mistakes over and over again because it's so comforting to just go back to that adaptive child.
Yep.
How does that play? How does all your experience play into your marriage life? How do you see marriage?
That's a good question. Until, because I didn't become a Christian, I didn't have a spiritual transformation until I was a young adult. So before I was a believer, I didn't care about marriage. I thought marriage was dumb. Being honest with you, I mean, can I be how honest can I be?
You can be very honest.
Okay, I just want to know how honest.
Make this your therapy session.
I didn't know. I just look. I'm
I'm
saying, put myself in the streets. Okay, but my thought process was, man, I'm just gonna get old and get a secretary and sleep with her, because I don't, I'll be like a 60-year-old man with a secretary that's beautiful, and that'll be my life. I don't really want to. This whole marriage thing is weird.
Yeah.
One woman forever, that's crazy to me. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And because I didn't grow up in that environment.
Right.
I grew up in a broken home.
Yeah.
So I was like, why would anybody subject themselves to this chaos? After becoming a believer, it was like, oh, it's time to change my mental maps. So if I'm saying God is my is my creator and the standard is his standard, then what does he think about me as a man? And what does he think about women? And I had to learn, I'm an objectifier. I objectify women. That's what I do. I see them as like objects of my desire. I don't see them as dynamic, dignified, complex people. And it was like, oh, shoot, they made in God's likeness and his image. Oh, that's crazy. They're valuable. And that took some years for me to get to that place. And I needed to be single during that time because I didn't know how to appreciate a woman. I didn't know how to like not take her for granted or just want her for what she could offer me. And once I got to that place, then it was like, okay, now I see what marriage is and what it's supposed to be. And it's a beautiful thing. From a faith component, it's this covenant that I made with God and another person. So it's like, oh, this is amazing. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know what makes other people want to get married.
Yeah.
I know for me, my faith is central. Because if it wasn't for that, I don't know. It's like, is this an agreement? What is this? But for me, this is a spiritual connection. We're becoming one, and you are my body, and I'm yours. How would I treat my own body? So I want to treat my wife with dignity and care the same way I would treat myself. If you don't treat yourself well, you're not going to treat your spouse well.
Yeah.
So,
but can you have both? I see So I have experienced in my walk in life, and I have seen some men be in a church every day, have God in their life, and they really do love God.
Yeah.
They really do have a faith component.
Right.
They really do believe,
Mm-hmm.
but they still cheat on their wives.
Yeah.
They still live outside that covenant
Yeah.
of what Christians are taught. Can you really have it both ways?
I don't know if you can live there, but you can definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, you're a human being. So you know, humans are broken people who are dealing with different traumas and different struggles. So absolutely, you can love God and cheat on your spouse. David did it in the Bible. We see it's possible. He wasn't the only one. Lots of people made poor decisions, but he didn't live there. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can live there, because now that's the opposite of integrity. That's really not who you are. Who you are is how you live on a regular basis. You know, whatever you're doing behind closed doors on a regular basis, that's who you are. If you deviate, it's like your dynamic is to read books all the time, but then like 1 week you didn't read. It's like, that's not who you are. Like, you are a reader. You just didn't this week.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can have it both ways, like as a lifestyle. Nah, I would question, like, are you really sincere in what you believe in? Because the way you live in shows me something different. But yeah, I see that all the time. I mean, the unfortunate part about religion or faith is that there's always these representatives out there who wave the banner of it, but then behind closed doors, they don't really live out what they believe.
Yeah.
So.
And the question then becomes, what is broken in you that you feel you have to live there?
Yes.
You know, I love the fact that you said that, because as I look at your missionary work, your Love Behind Walls work.
Yeah.
And you're in a criminal justice system doing beautiful work, bringing ministry, songwriting, your gift to the prison system to rehabilitate people.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to what you said. Just because they're there, they committed these violent crimes or whatever, they don't have to live there.
Facts.
And so when I look at a person that is struggling with, you know, whatever demons that they're struggling with, it's like, what part of you is so broken that you feel it cannot be fixed?
Yeah. No,
right?
big facts.
Because people go back to brokenness because they don't truly love themselves enough to say, I can fix this version of me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. It's hard work. It's consistency. And it's easier to slip back into the bad habits of who you are.
Yeah.
But you don't have to live there.
Yeah.
So tell me about the experiences, just piggybacking off of that you've been able to see through your ministry in the prison system.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, like you said, nobody drifts toward discipline. We always drift toward. No one's like, man, I don't know how. I just woke up and had a 6-pack, bro. I don't know how that happened. You know what I'm saying? You wake up with a beer belly. That's what happens. You drift toward the opposite. So I think, like you're saying, is you got to be very intentional. And, you know, a good example of that for me personally is my guy, Rasan. Rasan's actually from New York. You know what I'm saying? He's from East New York, matter of fact.
Brooklyn.
Yeah. So Rasan, I met Rasan at San Quentin, and I went up to San Quentin. You know, this program we do called Send Musicians to Prison. We get in there, man, and just, you know, do music, talk with people, share things, and I love going into places like this. But Rasan's story is the story that I feel like is the most powerful, and it really don't got nothing to do with me. It has more to do with this is what I want to see happen. But Rasan, commits a murder here in New York, runs off to Cali, gets in some more trouble in Cali, and commits a murder in Cali that he gets caught for, and then they lock him up. He's sentenced 55 to life. So he's sitting in San Quentin, 4x9 cell, never see his son play football, never use an iPhone, nothing. And, you know, after about 3 years, he's like depressed, angry, frustrated, because like, dang, I just threw my whole life away. But what he realized after that period of time, and it's dope for us to just be able to meet and talk through this, is like, he said, I can't change my circumstance, but I can be changed by my circumstance. And it became more important for him to become a different type of person than to change the environment around him.
Right, because it's just prison walls.
You hear me?
Yeah.
That's right.
It's just prison walls.
Yep.
But you don't have to be in the prison of the mind.
That's right. So for Rasan, it was like he started doing financial literacy classes. He also started doing writing classes, and he started writing for the newspaper in the prison. Then those articles got picked up by like Vice and GQ, and then he did the first prison podcast, you know what I'm saying, called Ear Hustle. And his track record was so phenomenal, and how much transformation that he took place in. He was able to give his family financial literacy secrets and stuff so they could change their financial future. And he thinking, I'm 55 to life. This is what my life looks like. After 23 years, his sentence gets commuted. The governor just kills it, and he's free. So he got out this year. Wow. You know what I'm saying? But he gets out as a different person.
But here's the thing that's very important.
Yeah.
Nothing that happens to you in life is by mistake.
Yeah, facts. God's in control.
Everything is by the divine.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Had he not had that moment in prison to transform his life, the universe, God, would have never rewarded him in such a way that it has to commute his sins.
Man. And he wouldn't be the person that he is.
To transform somebody else's life.
You know what I'm saying? So he can pay it forward. He's a contributor to society in a whole different way. And that's, to me, the beautiful part about it. I grew up, all the men in my family went to prison. I thought prison was like, I had to go or I wasn't a real man. I ain't gonna lie to you. A 36-year-old man standing inside of a big old house, like saying, am I really a man? Because I ain't been to prison.
Right.
You know, I'm wrestling with that ridiculousness, but that was instilled in my brain. So, you know, for me, going back into those prisons is helpful for me in a lot of ways. It's healing for me because it reaffirms that, I'm not supposed to be in here in their position, but I am supposed to be in here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a different way. And just to see people transform, to see people change, and see the healing that's happening. I see my uncles, man, their whole lives are different now. And, you know, it's just a beautiful thing.
And that's all about owning your power, which is the single you got. You like that? Tasha Cobb. You like that transition?
Yeah. I see what you're doing. I like that. You know what I'm saying? A little behind the back. I like that. Yeah.
But it is about owning your power, your voice, and understanding that, you know, you really do have control if you desire something better. Right? You have to have the will.
Yeah, I'm a big firm believer that, you know, we're made in God's image and his likeness, and he's a cultivator, and that's what he does. He cultivates change. And that's what he put us here to do, is to cultivate, is to like tend to this giant garden called Earth, and to, you know, mobilize. Obviously, we can't do it without him, but he's put within us that dynamic and that amazingness, you know what I mean, to help us become all of that. So I have a special place in my heart for people who are resilient and who overcome obstacles. Like, there's just something special about them to me, because I'm like, you tapped into it. You tapped into what God has created you for, and like, man, I that should let you know you have purpose. You know what I mean?
That's where you find your purpose. Yeah, it's through that struggle.
Yep.
That's where you find the purpose, because I believe that God would. You have to go through some sense of suffering. I read this book called Hind's Feet. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Hind's Feet?
Hind's Feet.
Not hindsight.
No, it's Hind's Feet. Hind's Feet in High Places. Let me make sure I get it right. I read this
because it
recently.
doesn't sound like a book I want to read. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It doesn't sound very.
Hind's Feet on High Places.
Yeah, feet in the title doesn't really like make me say, yeah, let me pick that up. But I'm rocking with you though.
It's Hind's Feet on High.
Hind's Feet on
High Places.
That's very interesting. I don't know what Hind's Feet is. Like the back feet from a donkey.
So the journey of overcoming fear and doubt in pursuit of inner strength and growth.
Okay, I rock with it.
The message on Hind's Feet. That's the message behind it.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's basically Much Afraid. That's the
Okay.
character's name.
Oh, this is like a fictional joint.
This is like a how do you
It's
say
like
it?
purposeful,
It's like a
or is it memoir or something like that?
it's like a metaphor.
Okay,
Like,
yeah. I
it's
got
like
you.
a metaphor.
I can rock with that.
So Much Afraid is scared to go of her own shadow, pretty much. Scared to go
Okay.
through the valley, scared of suffering, doesn't believe, you know, and she just wants to jump over the mountain.
Okay.
So God is saying, hey, you want to develop hinds feet to be able to jump and crawl and get to the highest mountain.
Okay.
Here's some things you got to go through
Okay.
before you can get your hinds feet. And so it's an incredible,
Very interesting.
it's an incredible read.
Yeah.
But it's one of those reads you got to be ready for. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? To really understand and get it.
Yeah.
But it talks about suffering. It talks about the valley, and then here comes, you know, it's just different parables in it. It was like, here comes like self-doubt. And
Okay.
self-doubt shows up in the book as a different character. You're not good enough. What do you mean? There's a God. There's no God over there. That's just such and such. And then she, Much Afraid, begins to doubt herself.
Okay.
And say, I'm not good enough. I can't get my feet. I can't get my feet to go over the mountain.
Yeah.
And so I say all of that to say is suffering is bad in that moment.
Yeah.
You feel hurt, you feel angry, you feel pain.
Yeah.
But once you go through the journey of suffering, it's a beautiful thing on the other side. If you embrace it and allow yourself to feel that.
That's great. You read the bedtime stories to your kid. At that was, I mean, you like, yo, you animated with it. You like, yo, Much Afraid was like, hey. And then self-doubt came. You can't do that. I said, yo, I'm seeing it. I'm watching a movie.
I mean, listen, it was so incredible. That was like my meditation at night. I would read it and then meditate and then like go back to it. And like, I didn't even finish the end yet because it's so like, I take breaks from it because it's so like touching. The
Wow.
story is so touching. But I say that to say is there's this idea, right, that you're not going to go through suffering.
Right.
And if you're a Christian, you're definitely not going to suffer because God got
crazy.
you.
That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
But there is a level of suffering we all have to go through to find our purpose.
Got to. I honestly feel like I be feeling bad sometimes but my man Trip Lee, you know, one of the artists on our label, he says this. He says, life is hard, but God is good. And I feel like I be feeling bad sometimes because the music I make, I don't really be making that happy, joy type of music. I usually make like life is hard, but God is good type of music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, dang. Dang, I hope people don't feel like I'm just like always sad or something like that. But I'm just like tapping into my reality of like, man, life be lifing. It be hard. And I need to tap into that hope and that belief. And I need to tap into those memories of what happened and how I overcame something. And so oftentimes that's what I'm writing about because I just have never been the type of person that like, you know, you show up on Sunday morning and you walk in the building, everyone's like, God is good. Hey, brother. Hey, sister, how you doing? I'm just like, yo, man, like, I honestly, you know, my cousin is addicted to drugs and my niece has got cancer and that just ain't where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I need something that says that you understand life is tough, but God is good.
Yeah.
And you gotta be reminded of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you fully stepped into your purpose at this moment?
I feel like it. I feel like honestly, for me, I'm a catalyzer. Like the thing that most excites me, where I'm like, this is what I live for, is creating opportunities for other people to thrive. Like whatever that is, you know what I'm saying? Like
You want to be the catalyst.
however I can do that. If it's a song, great. If it's an interview, a podcast, if it's a job opportunity, whatever, like that to me is what I feel like I'm here for. Is like, how can I help other people thrive? Now, I may not be able to take you all the way to the finish line, but if I could at least like, yo, I just tied your shoe. You know what I'm saying? So you can run all the way there. Like, great. But that nothing gets me more excited than that.
'Cause I fundamentally believe you're not living unless you're serving.
Yeah.
Unless you're in
Yep.
service
Yep.
to others.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I think we go through a period of our life where it is very much serving, right? Look at me. I got to get to this money. I got to
Yep.
get to this.
Yep.
I got to live in this house. I got to get to
Yep.
this car. It is a period where I know I was in that stage of self-serving. But I think true purpose living is really when you're in service of others.
That's right. Yeah. I
That's
totally
when
agree.
you feel the best. Even when I go through stuff in life,
Yeah.
or I feel sad, or don't feel like myself, or something has happened that has triggered one of my traumas,
Yeah.
I go serve.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. I'll go call a soup kitchen and be like, hey, y'all need some extra hands today? And I will
Yeah.
just go serve.
That's dope.
And I don't even tell people. Sometimes I just
Yeah.
show up places. Sometimes I just walk the block and go to Starbucks and get a couple of sandwiches and just pass them out to people.
That's dope.
Because serving really helps you through the darkness.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think you got to serve in a way that makes sense for you as well. Like, because a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, people feel like if I'm not doing what you're doing, I'm not doing enough. And, you know, say my guy Vic Blends, he cuts people's hair in Atlanta. He just finds somebody on the street and like, yeah, let me give you a haircut, da da da. And if I do that, I'm actually not helping anybody. I'm actually hurting people because I don't know what to do with a pair of clippers. So that's not serving for me. So I got to serve in the way that God's gifted me to serve. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
I think that's beautiful, man. But yeah, I agree. You know, a lot of times people say ministry, like, oh, you ever thought about going into ministry? And for me, I'm like, yo, ministry just means to serve. That's really it. Ministry is where your feet are. You know, when I used to work at a call center, like, that was ministry for me. People was like, well, you should tell people about Jesus on the phone. I was like, no, I was helping them prepare their credit.
Yeah.
Like, and most people was calling like, hey, you need to pay your bill immediately. And I would call and I'd be like, hey, what's going on, Trev, man? Let me tell you something, bro. They gonna tell you to do X, Y, Z, this, and this. Let me explain to you how credit works. This is what credit is. This is this. And people would always pay. I was always at the top of the charts because I just went in there to serve. I didn't go in there to just try to like kill it, you know. And so that's all it is.
Yeah, and the universe rewarded you for that.
Man, I was just trying to be who I was called to be, and use what I had to give back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do a lot of work with empowering Black men, whether it's from your own podcast, whether it's from going in the prison system, something we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
What is it that you want Black men to know about themselves?
I think, you know, for one, that we don't have to live underneath this like fake sense of what it means to be a Black man. Because it's tough, man, because you don't see a lot of images, like positive images of Black men in society, right? Especially young Black men. So, you know, it's tough because who are the successful Black men typically in our society? Typically, they're athletes and entertainers. And typically, if they're entertainers, they're telling war stories of crimes or drug sales or misogynistic tales. Typically, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, well, that's who I'm supposed to be if I want to be successful in this world, because we don't really hear about, like, you know, my white brothers and sisters, they got a Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos. We don't really have people that you can name like that are like outside of the entertainment space that are just killing it. Like I can't sit here and be like, oh yeah, this the most famous Black surgeon is this guy, or you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really, you know, until Obama, we was like, shoot, I don't know.
They exist, but not on the levels of our white brothers.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like wanting to create a space for them to still carry that same type of, you know, cultural, I don't know, the lack of a better word, like just essence, sauce, but not on some negative, you know? So that's kind of what I want to help them move toward. It's like, you just carry all of the sauce, but you don't have to be tough. Yeah. Like, being tough really, like, don't get you nowhere. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You could be sturdy, you can be a protector, but, like, I just went through, like, I'm traumatized from trying to be tough for so long. You know what I mean? It's like the dumbest thing ever. I'm sizing people up when I walk in buildings. Can I take him? Okay, if I hit him on the left. And it's like, where do the tough guys end up? Prison. And then what happens when they tough in prison? They got to prove they tough again. And they go to the hole with the other tough guys. And then they're just like, you constantly proving.
This is cycle of proving how tough you are.
And it's nothing good comes from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
And it's okay to, like, tell your brother, I love you.
Right.
Give him a hug.
Right. Yeah. Well,
You know, pick up the phone and say, "Brother, I love you. I love you, King. I love you."
Yeah.
Or let me give you a hug.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I think we have to learn how to do that more often.
Facts.
How
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah. It just be integrated. That's the thing we're not. Like most of us are lonely because we're not really integrated with one another. You know, like and it's like when I say integration, I mean like we're not known by each other. Like women meet and immediately they're face to face and they go deep. It's like they can just be like have a conversation and be sipping tea, be drinking, and girl, let me tell you, and oh my God, and you like, dang, they went there fast. Like, dang, dudes, we connect side by side. We got to be playing golf or basketball or something to connect us like that, because we don't just see each other and like, let's go deep.
Yeah.
That's just not how we move. So it takes us more time to get there, but I'm trying to encourage folks that we do have to get there.
Yeah.
Because if you're not known by somebody, you're going to always crash. You're going to crash out. So my dudes, my friends, we are integrated. Like we know the intricate details. There's not one of them I have to be fake around. There's not one of them I can't call and say.
And you need that.
Yeah.
You need that, man. You need like-minded men who can uplift you up and tell you and call you on your bullshit.
Yep.
When you know you need to be called out on it.
Facts.
Facts. Like, I look at it like this. If you're on this wave of like, this is how I want to live my life. I want to step into my purpose. I want to be a wholesome man. I want to, be honorable to my wife. I want to be honorable in integrity. But then your circle of friends are men who drink all day and cheat on their wives or do the things that they do.
Yep.
You're never going to reach your highest potential as a man.
Facts.
Because you're always going to have those people sinking you back in.
Yep.
And not being honest with you on who you become, because they're not there yet.
Facts. Yep. Pigeons. Eagles run with eagles. Pigeons run with pigeons. Pigeons is everywhere. When's the last time you seen an eagle? They're hard to see because they're soaring high. So it's like you got to learn how to run with the eagles, and that means you're going to have to soar higher. It's pigeons everywhere. It's easy to be a pigeon. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to do the grunt work, the ground work, to just be a slimy, grimy type of individual. It's tougher to be a person of integrity, to like have a moral standard, to like care about society, to like be honest about your issues, to go deep with your friends, like, It
takes vulnerability.
Yeah.
It takes transparency with yourself.
Facts.
And you got to be honest, but most of all, give yourself grace for the things you don't like about yourself in order to change them. And then that also requires you to be honest with the people that are in that circle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are so busy pulling up that wall and putting up the guy they want or the girl they want people to feel like they know.
Yep. Nah, we don't got time for that. Like, in my circle, we don't have time to be fake. And on the flip side, being real, you don't get a pass just because you're real about it either. So it's like, he be like, yeah, man, I wanna punch Buddy in his face. I'm gonna fight that dude. You free to say that. You free to say that. Now, after you calm down, we're gonna say that's not what you're gonna do because we're not bailing you out of jail, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's not what you're gonna do. Okay? I feel you. That's not. I'm leaving her, bro. I'm tired of her. I'm done. I'm leaving her. I feel you. You free to say that. Get it all out. Get it all out. Get it all out. That's your baby mom's, bro. You're not going nowhere, bro. You're not finna create the home that you grew up in, bro. We gonna work this out. Yeah. We gonna be up till 3 a.m. with you and her. We gonna just we gonna work it out. And that's what it comes. That's what we do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's so beautiful. What can we expect off the album?
Man, I'm trying to. The album's called, Reconstruction, because I want to reconstruct. A lot of stuff has to be torn down and then built back up. So you can look at it in different phases. You can look at it from a historical phase of the Reconstruction era is when, we came out of slavery and it was like, okay, we got to build something back. And that was a dope era for us, especially as black people. You can look at it from a humanistic standpoint of just saying like, man, sometimes you got to tear down things that are not effective and build them back. And then for me personally, it's called Reconstruction because I had to like reconstruct my faith because I was in a dark place and I was like, I don't believe any of this stuff because I was lied to by so much in like American versions of Christianity. And I was like, this is fake. I don't rock with this. And I was like, well, I'm throwing the whole thing away. But what I had to learn was, nah, this foundation is good, but I need to reconstruct truth on it. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what it's about. It's just reconstruction.
Sound like it's maturing too.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure.
And life experiences.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Well, listen, I had such a great time speaking with you today. I'm so glad we got a chance to really sit down and talk.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to meet you for quite some time and to have this interview. I'm a huge fan of yours.
Respect.
And I appreciate all that you do for our black men.
Oh, man.
All that you do in the prison system.
Thank you.
To try to save our black men.
Yeah, man.
And I know there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for just embracing that part of you.
Yeah.
That part of your purpose, I should say.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me. It says a lot about you.
Thank you. When's your album coming out?
Tentatively the top of the year, but what I'll say is the single, Lift Me Up, will be out September 27th. So stay tuned for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tapping in. Lecrae, it's here. September 27th, his new single will be out.
That's right.
And the album tentatively top of the year, but you guys can make sure you follow him on social media. Make sure you subscribe to his podcast and download the app, B-Side. Yeah. And you can also hit him up on all socials. If you want to give out your socials. Yeah,
just at Lecrae, Lecrae. Follow me. I'll take you somewhere. Come on.
Yeah, and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And mine as well, where you get all your podcasts, okay?
There you go.
All right, it's Tap In with TT. Thank you, guys.